Okay, what is up guys? My name is Micah and this is going to be the first video in a tutorial series on iPhone game programming. A couple of prerequisites you might want to look at before you actually start and dive into this are going to be a basic understanding of Objective-C along with some experience with Xcode. So I will link to a tutorial in the description below to the New Boston's channel. The guy's name is Bucky and he does a really good job of explaining programming concepts. And he's just a fun guy to listen to, so check that out if you need a better understanding of those two things. This is going to be the game we're going to be making right here. And what it is you're just this little black block, and you tap to start, and then from there on out you tap to jump over these blocks here. And if you hit one of the blocks, it's game over, and you can tap to restart and all that jazz. So it's a really basic game, but it should cover a lot of basic game mechanics and things that should just get you started, like the points label here, the high score label. It'll work with basic physics along with world generation. So you can see this world going by. We'll cover that as well. So one more thing before we actually get started is I'm running this on the iOS simulator. I can run this on my iPhone if I want, but to do that you need a developer license. It's $99 a year. I can link to that if you'd like to actually get that in the description below. I'd only suggest getting it if you actually plan on publishing your app on the App Store, just because it is $99 a year. You can run the simulator for free though, just to make sure that's clear. And with that, I think we can just get started. So you want to open up a new project in Xcode. I have another monitor over here, so I'll just drag it over. So I'm going to do new projects, and this is what we have. Let me just close out of that. So in this new project menu, in the sidebar, you want to click Application, and then Sprite Kit Game for the icons. And what this does is it just sets up a basic Sprite Kit template for your game. It does a lot of the initial code for you and just speeds up the process. So for the product name, this is going to be the name of the game. We're just going to call it Hop Hero because the little block hops. And for the organization name, this is usually where you put your game company name. I'm just going to put Micah. And the company identifier, the convention for this is you do com.your company name, and this creates your bundle identifier. And this actually isn't super important. The only important thing about this is it needs to be a unique identifier to all your apps, because what the bundle identifier is it's how Apple identifies your app on the App Store. So the user can't see this. It's only you and Apple, so not a huge deal there. And for the class prefix, generally people put in their initials. What this does is with every new class that you make, it's going to put those initials before the class name. This is a way to distinguish your classes from the classes that are in Apple's framework. So I'm just going to leave this blank because you can manually put those initials in when you're creating a new class. So I just like doing that because I don't always like putting those initials in there. And then for devices, just select iPhone and you should be good to go. I'm going to try to keep these videos between like 5 and 8 minutes because I don't like watching long tutorial videos. So here is your project right here. You can see the Sprite Kit template kind of created all these classes right here. I'll go over a little bit of what it actually did. So in the storyboard, the first thing that it did is you have this initial view controller for the storyboard. You don't actually use the storyboard at all when you're using Sprite Kit. At least I haven't in any way. So you can just get a really basic understanding of this and then move on and never worry about it again. So for the view controller, you click on it. It set the view of this view controller to an SK view instead of a UI view. And SK view is essentially the Sprite Kit equivalent of UI view. It's what you load in classes called scenes into. Scenes are where all the interesting stuff happens in Xcode. So that's really all you need to know. All you need to know is it's an SK view instead of a UI view. So then you go to the view controller here, In the viewDidLoad method, this is the code that I added. So it grabbed the SK view that we just saw. In that view, it shows the frames per second and shows the node count. This is just for testing purposes. You always turn this off before you actually submit your app to the App Store. The node count is it shows how many things basically are getting drawn within that view at that moment. Then after it grabs that SK view, it creates a new scene from the MyScene class, as you can see in the sidebar over here. And then it presents that scene to the view. So with scenes, you can have a lot of different scenes. You can have like a menu scene, you can have a play scene, you can have different level scenes. The only time you really need to worry about the view is when you're presenting those scenes to the view, is when you're switching between them. So now we can go to the actual scene class. I'll just run this really fast to show you kind of like what's going on. Oh, wait, 1 second. Because the simulator is already in use. I'm not seeing the simulator here. Okay, I might have to cut this video and figure out what's going on here, but actually I'm just going to close out of Xcode, stop tasks. Generally restarting Xcode does the trick for any kind of error like that. So we'll try running it again. And here we go. Okay. So the Sprite Kit template just creates something really simple thing, hello world, like this. And if you click on the screen, it creates this like circling ship. We're actually going to delete all the code for all of this stuff because we want to replace that with our own game. So you can see right here the code that's doing this. It sets the background color to this like purplish shade. And then right here, you can see that it sets the background color. Then all of this is the code that creates that hello world label. And then this right here is going to be the code that controlled the circling ship when you clicked on the screen. So you can actually delete this right here. We'll get back to the touches began method because this is a very important method for Sprite Kit games for user interaction. You can just delete all that, and you can delete the label as well. So now we just have a blank template, and we should be ready to start actually coding our game. In the next tutorial, I promise I will cover a lot more on programming, because now that we have all the basics out of the way, we can actually get to some of the fun stuff. So I will see you guys in the next tutorial. Thanks.